I'm as poopy, but I never smoke. I'm as poopy, but I never smoke.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big dog, and I do big dog shit. And that big body whip like it's Paw Patrol, bitch.
Tell my boyfriend what I've been doing. Been thinking of you. Every time I screw him.
And I feel like Dorothy, cause I wanna go home.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Maybe It's Me. How are you all feeling this week? Hopefully, that's a good answer that I'm hearing. As for me, this week has been a roller coaster, but not so much a monumental one, if you understand what I'm saying. Mercury retrograde ends Tuesday, and I'm so excited. I'm tired of holding my tongue and thinking things through. Have you ever been so emotional on a particular day that you don't know why, but what follows through solidifies your emotion? Yeah, that's literally what happened one day, Thursday. I felt like that time of the month was coming, and I just couldn't hold it in. Literally, someone hand me the tissues, chocolate, and the pads because it's coming. When this happens, I become so moody and emotional. I compare it to when you see a human turn into a werewolf on TV shows. The clothes start stretching away, the body hair grows, and all physical features turn abnormal. Everyone run and hide because here comes the bitch. The only other time I can recall this shift change happening is when I don't get a sufficient amount of sleep or if I'm overstimulated. Yeah, when I turn into Miss Bitch. No more Mr. Nice Guy, that's all I can say. Enough of the tyranny. At the end of the day, I stepped foot in the house, tried to maintain my composure, and eventually cried in front of my mother. I took a shower, cried some more, ate my pizza, and went to sleep because I didn't have a particular answer as to why everything was hitting me so hard. Well, I've been slacking on taking ashwagandha, and near the end of my day, I listened to Don't Smile by Sabrina Carpenter. Good album, by the way, and that sealed it for me. I've seen something last month about what happens when you withdraw for ashwagandha and the symptoms that come from it, but damn, I didn't know it was like that. It felt like depression was looking at me from the corner, telling me,
It's time.
I woke up and got the fuck out of those pills. Not doing that again. I've been contemplating 3 things that I wanted to talk about. One dealing with what I'm currently experiencing, but fuck it. This is more important. And the signs are there. First off, I have to talk about Lil Yachty. I am so happy he's getting his lashings. If that makes me a hater, then so be it. I want to talk about what he shared besides the other questionable theatrics that was in light. It's what he shared about his ex-artist, Caribou. If you need to find out who that is, Caribou was Yachty's artist under his group Concrete Boys. Mind you, this is the second group he's made. Newsflash, give it up! He declares that he wrote every song Caribou made, invented everything about her, and is $900,000 in debt because of the group. He even insinuated that she's making chump change from her streams. My thing is, who are you to joke at her like your last album literally made no noise? It's going double sheetrock. You literally made your own creative lane. I'll give you that. But you're now known as Drake's shadow. You're basically Drake with no privilege if Drake was distinctly a nigga. You're mad at the monster you created, just like the same monster who created you. Ian, not the white boy you collaborated with in terms of saving music, but Ian Connor with 33 rape allegations on his belt. helped you to become who you are today. But I don't see you trashing him. As you're getting lashings in 4K, this man decides to boast himself up in the midst of it to say that he created you and you never responded. Instead, delete everything from your social media. Now, I see that you brought back your social media to respond to Caribou, and you're acting like we couldn't tell. We all knew, like, what the fuck? That's the funny part. She's been your assistant before she was your protege, so she just got to get the gap like magic. Be so for real and get the fuck out my face. Then, you don't even speak like this with the dudes you have problems with. Weird. It just puts into perspective who and what is now qualified in the music industry with artists such as. I don't want to make this a nasty read, so you can fill in the blanks for me.
I'm as poopy, but I never smoke.
With all the subpar artistry and songs filling our ears, you can't help but to wonder, what the fuck happened to music? I wish I had the person who helped solidify this conversation because it would have been so great. But I'll try to help with his absence. To answer that question, I would have to go back to my childhood, as I really can't speak on music in the atmosphere before I was born. However, one of the answers remains the same for all topics, even before the 2000s. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. To make it more concise, is what this country runs on: capitalism. According to Merriam-Webster, capitalism is described as an economic system in which a country's trade, industry, and profits are controlled by private companies instead of by the people whose time and labor powers those companies. It's not hidden or unknown that big machines own what gets pushed regarding music. I don't want to go far back in history because I would be talking for an hour, but one thing I want to highlight that proves this is the trend of music in the 1950s to now. One notable act that arrived from this decade was Elvis Presley. Elvis was a singer and actor known as the King of Rock and Roll. He was born in Mississippi but moved to Tennessee when he was 13. With that, and the label that signed him, Sun Records, they wanted to translate the music they love into a wider audience. To add more perspective, other materials were used for him and other singers during this time, as it was unnecessary to be a songwriter if you were a singer. Until the Beatles, which I'll circle back to later. After the wide success of Elvis, a shift of change happened, allowing African American artists who were always looked at with disgust, now with a sort of intrigue. Artists like Little Richard, one of the two rock and roll pioneers, not Elvis by the way, stated in an interview that as Elvis grew, he got bigger. Elvis has sold over 1 billion records worldwide. 150 different albums and singles certified gold, platinum, and multi-platinum, and holds the record for most top 40 hits at 114 total per Graceland. Don't you just love white people getting the utmost money from black people's creativity? Love it! I don't want to keep talking about a white man's success, especially one that was taken from African Americans and now looked at as the start of a genre that was already made due to the struggles that we faced in life at that time. I will never give a white man props. I'm sorry. Kill me. Fuck. Before, swing music, a style of jazz music popular in the 1940s, which also grew from African Americans, by the way, now takes a subtle change with the help of guitars into something innovative and never heard before. There were plenty of musical acts in the 60s, but I have to highlight a group that significantly defined that decade: the Beatles. The Beatles, during the 60s, had 14 songs in the Hot 100 and filled the top 5 spots on the Hot 100 on April 4th, 1964. It's funny that I bring that up when Jimmy Fallon told Sabrina Carpenter on Thursday's edition of The Tonight Show that she's the first artist since then to have 2 songs debut within the top 3 on the Billboard 100, which is false since Mariah Carey, Drake, Ariana Grande, the White Devil, Taylor Swift has done so, and I love my girl Sabrina. He meant to say she's the first artist to have their first 2 top 3 hits in the region simultaneously with no feature artist. Ooh, that's a word salad if I ever heard one. That was hard to say. They were one of the first bands to write and perform their own work similar to Buddy Holly. If you know, you know. As of 2009, they were the best-selling band in history with estimated sales of over 600 million records worldwide. And they weren't even from America. They were from the UK. The Beatles walked so the English group the Rolling Stones could run, but their early influences can be traced back to Motown, which had artists such as Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, the Marvelettes, and the Miracles. Fun fact, Stevie Wonder is the youngest artist to hit number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 chart with his single, Fingertips Part 2. I mentioned all of these outstanding artists to emphasize that music was changing, and this time shifting away from traditional pop primarily because of the British invasion. The phrase of rock and pop acts coming from British culture becoming popular in the United States, and baby boomers coming of age and driving the market of music along with fashion. Along with the birth of rock and roll, blues developed into R&B, which is rhythm and blues, which was coined by Jerry Wetzler to replace the term race music, used to describe African American music since 1920. That should let you know they were one and the same, but segregation and racism, I always have to add that in there. According to Masterclass, white artists playing blues-based music were categorized as rock and roll. Meanwhile, most black musicians playing songs with the same influences were branded R&B artists. Like, what the fuck? Throughout the contributions of the 1950s and 60s, music genres were catered to everyone. Singer-songwriters, funk, heavy metal, soft rock, progressive rock, southern rock, blues rock, space rock, glam rock, jazz rock, disco, punk, country rock. The list goes fucking on. The record industry was open to signing anyone and gave free reign because the industry was selling so many records that the risk of signing acts that didn't sell were quickly absorbed. Artists who didn't even sell enough records to break even had a loyal following of fans that made the financial loss worth sustaining, per the University of Oregon. Radios were already established in households, but during this decade, along with the growing music industry, AM and FM radios swept the nation in the 1960s, where AM radio shared the top 40 format nationwide, which concluded frequent jingles, animated DJs, and mainstream music, and FM radio being a space to try new things and appeal to fans of contemporary rock and roll, specifically album-oriented rock, where the album, rather than a pop single, became the object of musical delivery. Thank you, Brown University. To cite Oregon University again, quote, with album production becoming the new form of unit sale rather than a single, there was a surge in record industry profits. Albums were sold at a premium cost and had a lower manufacturing cost per song, end quote. To put into perspective of the 1970s, the best-selling album is Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, which sold 50 million copies. To put this in even more perspective, radio contributes to sales, as cited by Nielsen Broadcast Systems. For the year ending April 20th, 2005, the singles Money and Time were played on 13,723 and 13,731 occasions. I would love to know how much money that translates now in 2024. Like, what the fuck? The 1970s gave the baton to the 1980s, and might I say, they had a great run with it. Color TVs were becoming more of a norm in households. The post-war economic boom, increased political awareness, and the economic liberty of women continued to grow. Music that was once experimented with funk from the 70s became disco-inspired at the end of the years leading to the 80s. For example, Michael Jackson had just turned the age of 21 and made his breakthrough album, Off the Wall, selling 3 million albums in the US, which was 1979. To note, it was released in August. 5 months, 3 million copies. 1979. King of music, by the way. Yeah. With the creation of MTV and significant pop culture moments, something was waiting. In the late 1980s, independent songwriter-producer Teddy Riley created the New Jack Swing style. Artists were already singing about society's struggles and successes, but now they incorporate vocals, dance pop, and hip-hop. To describe the shift from previous decades to the 90s, R&B and R&B adjacent music occupied number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for more than half of the decade. Artists such as
Boyz II Men, Dru Hill, Jodeci, Jagged Edge, Aaliyah, Nick Condition, Mariah Carey, SWV, New Edition, TLC, Total, En Vogue, 702, Destiny Child, Maya, Silk, Sade, Groove Theory,
and many, many others. God damn! That should let you know that black people were the moment, and the moment is here. R&B was so prevalent in record sales and popular that even pop artists wanted a piece of the cake at the time. Just listen to Human Nature by Madonna to tell you how impactful it was. Like, seriously. I don't listen to her, but that's how she sounds? Okay. As R&B grew in the late 1990s and 2000s, hip-hop seemingly combined its forces into the ultimate link-up. You couldn't hear an R&B hit without an intro from a rapper, or a rap song without the hook of an R&B artist. Heartbreaker by Mariah Carey and Gold Digger by Kanye West are perfect examples of this. Even though R&B was the most successful genre through these 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, superstars and platinum R&B albums were reduced, but they still played a part in the state of music despite mainstream success.
Keisha Cole, Music Soul Child, Avant, Donnell Jones, Genuine, Amiri, Jill Scott, Trey Songz, Mario, Robin Thicke,
and others fall under this belt. Enough of the research, because I've done enough. Let's talk real. Cassie. Cassie made Me and You in 2006. That's real music. I knew I was gay because I didn't want to be with her. I wanted to be her. She was the epitome of femme cunt pussy girl boss. Long way to go? Official girl? Please. She came in that video shoot hungry in Givenchy's spring 2008 Gladiator sandals, a Louis Vuitton and Richard Prince Pulp Weekender PM bag, and a Nokia N82 cell phone. She made history. And fuck P. Diddy weird ass. Ugh. Mariah Carey? Growing up, I wasn't familiar with her game, but that's Mother. We Belong Together, Circles, Angels Cry, Shake It Off. It's too many hits to count. Let's not talk about the looks in music videos. Speaking of looks, music videos, and hits, Ciara, Like a Boy, 1-2 Step, Promise, and Ride. She had me figuring out physics at the early age of 4, trying to keep balance on a broom. while leaning, ticking my hips. Oh my god. I don't know why I remember BET banning Sierra's music video and why that's a distinct moment in my childhood. But the long fur coat, bodysuit, heels paired with a luxury car, mixed with nothing but a black tee, leggings, and a snapback. Mother, bow down. In the 2000s, you had to make appearances, interviews, and performances to try to have some type of success. The 2000s had things to prove, and I understand the stress. The 90s was a great time for music, and they delivered nonetheless. But nothing could amount to the craziness that was the 2010s. Like Skrillex, LMFAO, Macklemore, Omi, PSY, the Chainsmokers. Listen, I love the 2010s. There is a wide range of music from the 2010s, but we have to give flowers and spotlight about those who've made music into what it is now. The Weeknd, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Rihanna, Lorde, Adele, Migos, Justin Bieber, Lana Del Rey, and Young Thug. For pop music for the white girls, I'm kind of scared to give it to this lady. Yeah, her last name rhymes with Lift, but I'll add Katy Perry as well. If you ever catch yourself asking what happened to music, blame them. Because of The Weeknd, the message of R&B went from the highs and lows of love and life to sex, money, and drugs. Because of Young Thug, the male rappers we have now are searching for their own shoes in the closet. But he owns them all. Because of Nicki Minaj, female rappers reek of a big ass and pop persona, yet trying to deliver bars in the same breath. Rihanna's iconic and distinct nasal singing can be heard throughout numerous artists and songs on the radio, despite her last album being almost a decade ago. Migos' Versace is one of the main reasons rap music is the way it is now, with the breakthrough of trap and the introduction of triplet flow in rap and pop. Why the fuck did I just think of Trinidad James? Don't believe me, just watch nigga. Okay, I'm sorry. Beyonce changed the industry's approach to album release with her self-titled album. We now see albums dropped on Friday, which will be dropped in the middle of the week to send to clubs. Drake, notorious for rapping about his emotions, unconsciously reflected on the state of streaming in 2016 when he co-signed with Apple Music and dropped Views exclusively on there with 20 songs to benefit from streaming. I will go on to explain the impact of the palm color, but you can fill in the blanks. With these influential artists, a chess game was going on behind the scenes. Over the past 25 years, more mergers have left only 3 major labels: Warner, Universal, and Sony. A major label is any label with over 5% of the global market share. Thanks, otherrecordlabel.com. However, with these mergers, there have also been independent labels that nonetheless have a precursor of what will be mainstream. Before the rise of social media and the internet, record labels were in charge of promoting, marketing, and finding new talent. Now, we have the invention of SoundCloud and YouTube, which brought artists like Carly Rae Jepsen, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, Lil Uzi, Playboi Carti, Lil Yachty, 21 Savage, Kodak, SSX, Trippie Redd, Juice WRLD, and 6ix9ine into the spotlight. Streaming eventually became a significant topic in music And with the invention of Spotify and other music apps, music became connected to attention, which can be translated into success. In conclusion, music is the same way it's always been. But we have the whole library in our hands to search. We are no longer confined to what's on radio, but now we are chained to TikTok's grasp. We can bash today's music and pop culture, but it's literally nothing new. For God's sake, we had Nyan Cat growing up, and I blame that for my attention span and mental illnesses. I can still hear that shit in my head. We are more prone to earworms because attention equates to sales, and sales make money. What did I say earlier? It's all about the Benjamins, baby.